Hello and welcome to, what are we calling this class? Calling it in-depth prayer, Iyun Tefillah, Iker Tefillah, Vodas Aleve, whatever you want to call it. It's all those things. How to pray deep. Yeah, it's got a lot of terms. You can call it Iker Tefillah, which is every word is an Iker term. Iker term meaning the building blocks of life and creation. Wisdom words. How about that? Iker terms are called wisdom words. How do you like that? You can call it either Iker Tefillah, again, wisdom words of prayer, Iyun Tefillah, investigating the prayers and the sentences into the words to get the wisdom words, Avodas Aleve, the service of the heart, all different connotations of prayer. Justin B., do you know the problem with prayer? You know why I don't like prayer? You know why? Because nobody's praying. How about that? They say they're praying, but they're not. Now that's lip service, because everyone's like, I pray and no one else prays. No, I'm serious. The real meaning of prayer, the basis of all Kabbalah, and that is not hyperbole, the basis of all Kabbalah is to teach you wisdom words so that you can effectively pray to God. You find me one yeshiva on the planet that's doing that. You follow me? You need to be praying to God through wisdom words. That happens through Vodas Aleve, Iyun Tefillah, Iker Tefillah. Just standing there and chanting incantations will not do anything. Now, it'll do something because God has abundant kindness, and he'll do it, but that's not the Iker Tefillah. We are here to learn Iker Tefillah, type 1. Now, there's a prayer called Aleinu. And we're not going to discuss the Aleinu prayer today. When I was in Texas, I attempted at Rod's to give over the Aleinu, and I ended up giving it over at the Ger conference to the men. And these days, I'm really getting into Birkat Hamazon, grace after meals. Justin B., do you know why I'm getting into grace after meals? You have any idea? How about because it's an amazing prayer and maybe the most Kabbalistic thing on the planet? And one of the most amazing Kabbalistic prayers that exists, if not the most? And again, what do people do? They speed through it, if they do it, and it becomes an obligation. All I can say is this past Friday night, I always, on Friday nights, I really focus on Birkat Hamazon. I'm just as guilty. But at least on Friday nights, I'm not that guilty. And I really meditate on it. It is the essence of the Arizal's Tree of Life, Etz Chaim. If you think that is lip service, then goodbye. It's in there. It is in there. And in that prayer, there's a word, kol. Kaf, not kuf. Kaf, lamed. As in all or everything. And Justin B., what's the chiddush? What's the chiddush? Come on, you got to know this by now. Loretta? John, if you're caught up to speed, what's the chiddush, guys? What's the chiddush of the word kol? Justin B., you need to know this is a rule and a law. When I ask a question like that, it's always going to be the same answer. Without even thinking, it's going to be the same answer. Ready? Loretta, 1R. Loretta, you're guilty, okay? That's why I have faith in you. Right there, ladies and gentlemen, you witnessed it. Loretta, 1R, that's why I have faith in you. Now stop saying that you're not getting this because you just got it. It's an Iker term. Without even thinking, what's the problem with the word kol? People don't know. It's an Iker term. Mazel tov, yasher koyach, Loretta, 1R. That's why I know you're getting this because you answered it correctly. It's an Iker term. And I'm saying to myself, that's a hard Iker term. You ever seen Brian Regan, comedian? You guys ever seen Brian Regan, the comedian? He's very, that's a hard word. Cool is a hard Iker term. That's like, Justin, that's like in Mishle, when we say it's a the word or an of word. Coal is like the and of, an a. It's a hard one. And I got it, I got that it's an Iker, and I'm making up my own little theology as I go along, which is never good, right? That's why you got to eventually source what you're saying. And I knew it was right, but I didn't understand it. And then I got to Aleinu, and I still wasn't sure. Then everybody I told that I was doing the Aleinu prayer, they confused me with Zalman Weiss. You guys ever see Zalman Weiss out of the Tiv? He goes to Rod's place sometimes. He's the convert rabbi. He converts everybody. He's a little bit modest about it, at least, I'm not too into the whole convert rabbi thing, but at least he's not devious about it. He wrote a book called Adon Olam. You guys know that book, Adon Olam? Yeah, so everybody confuses Aleinu with Adon Olam. Now, I thought it was an honest mistake. Then, after analyzing Adon Olam this week, I realized it's not an honest mistake, it's a mazel mistake. There's a reason why people confuse Aleinu and Adon Olam. Before we get into Adon Olam, what is the Aleinu prayer about? Anybody? The Aleinu prayer is about Tikkun Olam b'Malchus Shaddai, repairing the world so that all flesh and blood will stop serving a flesh and blood God and worship God. The mission of Abraham completed by the King Messiah, which, as George Carlin states, is Joe Pesci. Just kidding. Now, do you want to know a Kabbalistic fact, an interesting point? When I say interesting point, I'm talking really interesting and like an Iker point. Now, you got to get this. What I'm about to tell you is maybe the underpinning of all of prayer and all of Torah routed through prayer. Do you think I'm joking? This is the basis of the Shema, as explained by pretty much everybody. You ready for this? Now, I want you to use your noggin on this, okay? Use your imagination. I want you to see this. I want you to feel this. I want you to hear this. And then when you go back in your prayers, I want you to start paying attention to this. I'm going to explain it in a very kind of midrashic type of level. You ready? Where's God? Work with me here. God is not everywhere. I'm sitting in my office and I don't see God. That means God is not here. All right, go with me on this, okay? Play along. God is somewhere else. There's a world called Yitzchak, a playful world, spoken about by King David in Psalms and other Kabbalistic works, okay? You might know the world called Yitzchak by the abode of the upper abode in heaven. God has made his home in heaven. You hear that expression? So, and you're aware that God has created worlds. So God is very gevuridic, very powerful. And he is revealed in heaven. Whatever heaven is, and it's not the Christian heaven, whatever heaven is, they know God, type 1. They are created to know God. They're not surprised to know God. And God does stuff there. God is indigenous there. They're not looking for God. They're not human. We are in the lowest or lower world. And we only hear about God. Like Jethro. We search for God, type 1. We've heard of him. We want to know him. And God is taking care of business, like a husband. And we are like the wife at home. God's doing stuff. He's bringing home food and putting food on the table. That's called shefa. You got that? God puts the food on the table. We call that shefa. And we have to have emunah and betachon that God will continue the shefa. Almost like the spoils of war. That's how God created the heavens, correct? The angels and the legions and whatever God's doing up there. All for the sake of creating our shefa. God is doing amazing things for us in the creation that he created. And they created that wisdom so that would be the mechanism that we get our shefa. And we're promised that one day we will merit God returning to our world. Type 1. And we are promised the shefa never stops. You ever hear the grace after meals prayer? What do we say in the grace after meals prayer? That the shefa never stops. That's why you're blessing. And in the grace after meals prayer, there's something called kol. Everything. God blesses everything, whatever it says there. In the Aleinu prayer, it promises the messianic delivery where somehow God in his abode in heaven will unite with his abode in the lowest world. We call that the Holy Temple. Now do you understand what I'm asking you? Where is God? God is not here. We are asking him to sit in, or to come to his built temple so that God would be here. And we only hear the echoes of God. Because the revelation, what we're really saying is where is the revelation of God? The revelation of God is in heaven. And in that revelation is doing stuff. because God created it that way. God doesn't interact with our world. What interacts with our world is called the acharayim of God, the concealed aspect of God. One day we will receive the face of God. So there's the Elenu prayer. And it talks about the completion where we worship God, all nations in the world worship God. Shema Yisrael, Israel heard, Hashem Eloheinu. What's Hashem? The name of God. It's not here. What is here? Our God. We, the people here, say that the revelation of God, that happens to be our God. You understand the concept? The pure revelation of God, we're saying, you in heaven, that's not your God. That's just called God. But that's our God. You got this? The revelation is in heaven. But heaven does not say that's their God. They just call that God. We don't say, oh, it's just God. We say that is our God. Remember, the creations of heaven are not human. It's angelic. They're created to serve a function. They're not looking for God. They know God. That's why God gave the Torah at Sinai to a nation and said, I am your God, O Israel. You got this? An angel doesn't have existential angst asking who its God is. You are a created human. Therefore, you have an existential angst. God has then promised to be your God, and he made a covenant with you. Your continued existence allows heaven to remain in existence. And thereby you receive your Shefa. Got it? That is why you see what you see in prayer nonstop. God in his holy abode, God on high in heaven, God, you are our God. You get the idea now? We are saying, even though God is taking care of business, creating the world, we know that you are our God, and we pray for the delivery of the revelation of you in our world and stopping the concealment. Now, yes, God is in our world, but you are not aware of that revelation because God has not finished creating the world. The world is being created until the Messianic era and end after 6,000 years. The goal is to have revelation of God even while there is not an open revelation in this world, which means knowledge of God. Drawing down the revelation of the Shem Hashem into this world. That's the essence of Kabbalah, manifested in prayer, so you can understand Torah, so you can connect to God, and that you can speak words of wisdom and make Gerim and bring Mashiach. Say amen. So now here we go. And the Adon Olam. Adon Olam Asher Malach. We're saying that there's a master of the world that rules. Now, God is king in our world, but we don't know that. You don't see the king. The king is out doing stuff in Yetzirah and Bria, the higher worlds. And God promises you, don't fret, I'm your God, I'm your king. But it's hard to understand because God's not home. Do you see a temple on the Temple Mount, or do you see a mosque? God's not home, but he delivers the spoils of war. And those spoils of war are what continue creation creating until we create the third temple and God will be revealed. to fulfill Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. And what do we say after that? Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuso Le'olam Vayed. Blessed is the honorable name up above. His kingdom here rules forever and inclusively. Adon Olam Hashem Malach. B'terem Kol Yitzor Nivra. While there's still not everything, he will create creation. You see that? The creation is still creating. Now you're saying this in the morning prayers every day. You're opening up saying, hey God, Boker Tov, nice to see you. I know that you got work to do. The time that he makes his desire of everything, when God is finished taking care of business called everything, Kol, Azai Melech Shamonikra, then the king, his name you will call. When everything's finished, alone he will rule awesomely. And you will know he was, he is, and he is all that will ever be in a beautiful way. He is one and he is not two. Because I would say that there's a God in heaven and a God on earth, and therefore there's two gods. No, what he's doing in Shemayim and what he's doing here, he is one God. And he rules Hachbira, together, without a beginning, without an end. To him is majesty and rulership. He is my God, and my Redeemer lives. He is a rock of my burdens in the time of distress. And he's my miracle. Manusli. Let's know that word manusli. I think he's like my, let me see what that is. Hold on. I want to translate that word. Manusli. 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 Manus. What my refuge? He's my refuge. Manat koisi b'yam ikra. Minas koisi b'yam ikra. Tovasi mimei. All my good, all my goodness, I will bless. Yado avki rochi. In his hand I deposit my spirit. When you go to sleep, the time you sleep and when you wake up. This is why you say, speaking of the prayer class, what do you say when you wake up, Justin Becker? Mo de'ani lefanecha. I thank you, God, when I wake up for delivering my soul. Being rochi yivasi, and if my spirit is worn out, there will be a God to me, Shem Hashem, and I will not be afraid. Is that amazing? You start davening by saying all this stuff. I went to bed all right. I woke up all right. I'm not going to see God today because he's got business to take care of. And I know if I call out, he'll be a God to me, but there's work to be done. He is the master of this world, and I'm getting Shefa, but it's a work in progress. The day has just begun, Justin, type 1. And do you think, if we say that prayer is a microcosm of life in one full day, what do you think, Loretta 1R? John? Will we see God at the end of prayer? Will God come to us at the end of our prayer and say, Loretta 1R, yes, you're clear. You want to bet? We say the Aleinu prayer. It is on us to praise the master of everything. Oh, look at that. Look at that. He is indeed the master of everything. To give greatness to the creator of Bereshis, that he did not make us like the nations of the earth, and he did not place us like the families of the earth, and he did not place our portion amongst them, and our lot like those wanton sinners, that they praise and worship emptiness and dreck, and we bow and subordinate and praise and give thanks before the King of Kings, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that he is placed in the heavens and founded the earth, and in his precious dwelling in heaven on high, but he places his revelation of intensity also on high. He is our God, there is no other. Our true God, the God of truth, there's none other. Like it's written in the Torah, you will know today, if you place your heart, I am God, your God, in heaven above, and also on the earth below, there is no other. What do you think, Loretta 1R? You started the day saying, God, where are you? You started the prayer service saying, God, where are you? And at the end, you say, Aleinu l'shabeach. That's the answer. He is God on high, and he is God in my life. It is one God. And then when you go and have breakfast, you do the grace after meals, and you say, God does nourish everybody. I am eating. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the second edition of the prayer class, Iyun Tefillah, Iker Tefillah, Avodas Belev. I hope you enjoyed yourselves.